Thanks for the help, Shadeen. So, good evening, everybody. Uh, I just wanted to give kind of a quick statement to address a lot of different questions that I've gotten about the remainder of the year, nationals, everything else related to dodgeball and whatnot, and how our current climate is kind of affecting some of those things. So, I'm going to be answering some of the questions that I've gotten a lot of over the past few days. I'm going to try and get Shadid to, relay me some if you guys end up asking any. But for the most part, we're going to try and keep this brief and get this going. So, first thing to discuss is the remainder of the 2020 season canceled? I've gotten this question a lot, and I just want to address no. The season is not canceled. We've merely postponed our nationals tournament to be played at a later date. If you're a school that's interested in hosting or traveling to a tournament for the 2020 season, you're still eligible to do so. We would just caution you to make sure that you guys put the necessary protections in place so that you're not putting yourselves, your team members, or other people at risk of the coronavirus. But with that being said, we're not going to prevent any members from traveling if their respective universities allow for it. So, another question, if Nationals is postponed, when should we expect a new date? As of right now, we're still trying to work with Ohio State University on setting up a new potential date, working within the limitations of what we have right now. Right now, we're aiming to have Nationals either in late May to late June. This is in most part because a lot of the schools that are part of the NCDA have been given travel restrictions until roughly late May, so we want to try to accommodate for that. Realistically, we're probably not going to be able to get a confirmed date for the event for at least another month. We want to urge everybody to try and be patient as we work with the university, like I said earlier, and just know that as soon as we get something concrete and laid out, we'll make sure that everybody is known. Everybody knows immediately. With that being said, are we expecting people to still register to nationals if they plan on attending? The answer is yes. While the event itself is postponed, we want to try and make sure that we get everybody to register. That way that we can still be on top of things when the time does come, such as getting apparel properly ordered, getting a schedule made, and everything else. So making sure that you guys are registering even while we are waiting on the event to get a new date would go a long way to helping that. Another question, if Nationals is rescheduled during the summer, will seniors graduating in May still be eligible to play? And the answer is yes. We will allow for participation for the NCDA 2020 season, even if you are graduating before the Nationals date. We urge you to please check with your school's eligibility requirements. However, I want to make people aware that summer championships are not an uncommon thing for other club sports. Club Ultimate Frisbee always has their national tournament in late May, and Club Baseball also has theirs in late May and going into early June. So it's not like there are not other club sports who do this sort of thing, and realistically, like, your schools should still be fine with it eligibility wise, but make sure that you check in with them. And as far as NCDA participation goes, we won't have an issue with that. Now, I do want to follow up by saying that another question that I've gotten is that if Nationals doesn't happen this year, will graduating seniors be allowed to play next season / Nationals? And unfortunately, the answer to that would be no. I know that this situation kind of sucks, and that realistically, a lot of people, weren't expecting to have their last game happen if that is the case. But if you have already graduated in a prior season and you're not a eligible student and eligible for competition according to your university, then you won't be eligible to play for the 2021 season. Like I said, I know that it sucks. And, somebody who's played before, I would have been really disappointed if I couldn't be able to, know when my last game was going to be. But realistically, like I said, the allowing seniors to play over the summer only applies for the current season and is not going to be able to be carried over for future seasons. Another question that I've gotten, so when and how will teams be refunded for their nationals entry fees. So right now we're planning with the anticipation that we're going to be trying to get a later nationals date, whether that be, like I said, late May to June or whatever the case may be. If we're still able to host nationals at a later date, we're going to run the event as smoothly as we possibly can. And so as a result, right now we're going to be holding on to the entry fees until we get a hard confirmation that it just can't happen this year. Now, if nationals is rescheduled and teams decide not to attend either of their own choosing or due to school restrictions, we're basically going to have two options available. Number one, you can ask for the money to be refunded directly to whoever paid. So if this was, let's just say, for example, a check that came from your respective university, then we would be sending a check back to said university. So, for example, if the nationals payment came from VCU Rec Sports, then the refund would go to VCU Rec Sports, not VCU Dodgeball Club. And then vice versa with, individuals. If Joe Smith paid their national entry fee for the University of Kentucky, then the refund would be given back to Joe Smith from the University of Kentucky. Option two would be allowing the NCDA to keep the money as a donation. So what that would mean is that basically it would be, there wouldn't be any refund given for the team. The NCDA would be able to hold on to it and use it for, future investment into the league, such as trying to help continue to improve with live streaming, helping with promotional efforts, or helping out with like our ambassador program to travel and get new membership. I would just want to caution everybody and say that if that is the route that teams decide to take, that won't be applied as like a credit towards your next year's league dues or nationals fee. It would just be considered a donation for the 2020 season. Another question that I've gotten, will nationals apparel, such as the event t-shirts, all-star jerseys, ladies match shirts, etc., be purchased and delivered to teams who paid their nationals fee? This sort of ties back into what we discussed earlier, that if we are able to host nationals at a later date, we're going to purchase the apparel for the teams that are in attendance like we normally would. However, in the event that the event is completely canceled, what we plan on doing is opening up a team marketplace on Savage's website. This will allow teams and individuals to be able to purchase their own apparel at their own willingness. Should they decide that they want to get a t-shirt, they want to get something else, whatever the case may be. And then kind of the last frequently asked question that I've received, will there be a captain's meeting to discuss rule proposals for the 2021 season? So again, if nationals does occur, captain's meeting will proceed as planned, and we'll do our standard captain's meeting that we do there. If teams are unable to attend and nationals is canceled, what we're going to do is try and put on an online summer session in order to relay necessary information or explain proposals in greater detail to then be voted on at a later time. What I'll probably do is for other individuals of the league who are submitting rule proposals, is I'll give you guys an opportunity to record a video to explain in greater detail what your proposal is, why you're proposing it, how it will benefit the league, and so on and so forth. And so that way we'll be able to relay it properly as if it was like an actual captain's meeting. As far as like how long we'll be taking rule proposals, I would say right now we're going to still act under our 1 week prior to nationals rule. So for right now, until we get a new nationals date scheduled, we'll be accepting any and all rule proposals and policy proposals and that sort of deal. So if you have anything that's burning on your mind, make sure that that is made apparent. Captains will be able to provide that feedback directly to me, or provided within our Captains Club page that they're familiar with. So those are all of the frequently asked questions that I have in my head. Shadid, do we have anything that anyone has submitted or nothing like that? Okay. one thing that I should mention is that we have received, a new message from the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and they are urging events of 50 people or more to be canceled or postponed over the next 8 weeks. So realistically, that will probably push our event closer towards June. We're going to, another reason that we wanted to try and push it towards like a late May or June type of time period is we're going to see if the situation gets reevaluated, and if, schools decide to, uplift travel restrictions or whatever the case may be. But again, for the time being, we're going to be looking towards, like I said, that late May, June period. I know this entire situation isn't easy for everybody. Like I was saying earlier, if I was, a senior, it would suck to not have a known hard date in my mind of when my last game is played. But the bottom line is public health and public safety, takes priority over dodgeball, as much as I would like it to be the other way around. Make sure that you guys are taking the proper and necessary steps to keeping yourself safe, whether that is through social distancing and keeping yourself out of crowded places, making sure that you're, limiting your exposure to the outside environment and everything else. If you're tasked with working from home, make sure that you take advantage of that and work from home and stay away from the office. But the bottom line is, some things are bigger than dodgeball, unfortunately, and this just happens to be one of those things.
We got 2 questions, Mr. President.
Okay.
First question from Casey. Why can't the national fee be moved on to 2021 if for some reason it doesn't get rescheduled?
So the reason that I want to avoid that is mainly 2 reasons. One, just from a tax accounting standpoint, the NCDA has a fiscal year end in July, and we need to make sure that we're properly accounting for all of our fees and have proper documentation and that sort of thing. Second, nationals fees are set on a year-by-year basis, and so realistically, I don't want to hold on to a $300 nationals fee if we decide, next season that has to be raised to necessarily like $325, and keeping track of that sort of thing just creates a little bit of chaos. Additionally, we understand that clubs are in a position to, if some clubs are in a position of, financial strain and they, need money now or whatever the case may be to operate on a, tournament by tournament basis, we want to try and get that money back to you as soon as possible. Those are kind of the main things that we talked about as a board. Again, like I said, it has a little bit more to do with like the financing and accounting than necessarily anything else, because we have to, as a nonprofit, we have to show what our money is being used for and that sort of deal. And providing a credit just creates a little bit more hassle in that regard. So that's a fair question though from Casey. What was the second question, Shadid?
Second question was from Michael Fleek from Ohio University. He wants to know, what about schools that already canceled the semester?
So again, this kind of ties into, like I was saying before, with eligibility stuff. As far as NCDA goes, if you're already a registered member for the 2020 season and you are eligible, at the start of the season, you're still eligible until until the eventual end of the 2020 season. However, your school's requirements trump all of the NCDA requirements. So if your respective university says no to traveling, then that's outside of the NCDA's control, and we can't, override that and say, fine by us sort of deal. So, kind of unfortunate that we're sort of held at the mercy of our respective institutions, but it just is what it is in that regard. Anything else come in?
Yeah, we got one from Kyle from UNG.
Okay.
Is there a contingency plan for the Leadership Conference workshop now that it may interfere with a national rescheduling?
One more time.
Is there a contingency plan for the leadership workshop now that it may interfere with a national rescheduling?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So we've talked with the University of Akron as far as hosting the leadership conference again, and they have been on board. With that being said, obviously, all the events that are transpiring, and specifically to the state of Ohio, with them having declared a state of emergency, that does create some complications. In the event that we are not able to host in the event that we're not able to host an in-person type of event, whether that be classroom sessions or like physical gameplay stuff, similar to our plan for the captain's meeting, what we're going to do is we're going to basically be recording online videos, which will provide an opportunity for teams to learn. And that's feedback that can be given to upcoming captains, presidents, whoever that may be. So that way that we'll have something more hard and concrete. But again, if we are running into a situation where nationals might interfere with the potential leadership conference date, we're going to put nationals 2020 as a priority over the leadership conference.
Yes. Rebecca from Michigan State said, if some state school lift gathering bans to give us an all clear before others, will there be an attempt to hold nationals in that state to make it happen sooner rather than later?
So right now the plan is still to host at Ohio State University. I know that for those who have been in the league for a little bit of time, we've had situations like last year where we've been able to reschedule nationals. With that being said, the amount of administrative work that goes into, changing a host school, changing up like logos, apparel orders, and things of that nature, does take a lot of time. And so right now, again, the plan is to still continue to work with Ohio State University up until we get told that we can't go. In the event that we do get completely shut down from Ohio State University, we will revisit this and see if there's potential for another school to be eligible to host for the 2020 season. But right now, again, we're still acting under the assumption that we're going to work with Ohio State. All right.
I don't see no more questions.
Okay. Just one thing that kind of came into my mind as we're discussing this. So, in the event that we, push to, end up having nationals canceled and go to the 2021 season, we will still hold a vote and bid request for Nationals 2021. Ohio State University will be more than able to put in a request to host again, and we'll have a vote on that. Like I said, that's in the event that we are unable to go to Ohio State this season. But like I was saying, we're going to act under the assumption that we're going to be able to try and host in late May or June timeframe. Additionally, at this point in time, we don't have any anticipation of limiting the event. So if teams have already played their minimum 3-game requirements and they've paid their nationals entry fee, then they're going to be eligible to play at nationals. We don't have any anticipated plans on limiting it to, say, top 10 teams or whatever the case may be. We want to reward, our member teams who filled out the requirement, fulfilled their requirements, and not limit the scope from that perspective. But changes can be made at a future time if necessary as well. All right. You all right?
You can choose to answer that question if you want to, Mr. Person.
No. Wes sent in a joke saying, do I feel like Dylan Greer winning Baller of the Month affected this? No, obviously not. And I would urge Wes not to waste everyone's time asking silly questions.
Seriously.
All All right. So, with that being said, I don't have anything. I don't have anything else at the moment. I'll stay on. We'll stay on for probably another like 5 or so minutes, or at least until we, continue to get further questions or information. But through all of this, I just want to say like it is unfortunate everything that has transpired, and there are plenty of powers that are beyond our control. Some things just happen to be bigger than sports. And again, like public health and public safety just happens to be, one of the top priorities that we, have in life. And I just want everybody to know not to be discouraged. My heart goes out to a lot of our seniors within the NCDA, and not only just within the NCDA, but other sports as well, who might not have had the opportunity to fulfill their final dreams, or whatever the case may be. And it is an unfortunate thing. We're going to continue to work with the powers that be to making sure that we can send everybody off, can have a proper send off for everybody. As far as future content goes and everything else, we're going to try and continue to put out as much as we can and continue to keep everybody informed when we can. That'll include doing stuff like continuing to boost posts for, from last year's nationals or tournaments over the past season. We've got a lot of really good footage and stuff to put together, so we're going to try and put together like highlight packages and things of that nature too, for the time being, just to try and help from a content standpoint. But I know it's a tough time without any type of sports and whatnot. Not even professional bowling is, on the realm of possibility at this point. So I would encourage teams to, continue to sharpen their tools where they can. If your school allows you to host practices, by all means, continue to do so. Again, make sure that you guys are, have the necessary precautions in place, that you guys are keeping yourself safe from, spreading the coronavirus, not only to your own individual teammates, but also to, your friends, family, and other strangers. Just to, kind of reiterate the point that social distancing is a valuable thing during pandemics as well. So, limiting exposure when it's not necessary definitely goes a long way. Any other questions that have come in or anything like that, Shadid?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Casey asks, would you suggest teams should figure out the senior eligibility thing now to avoid that hassle later when nationals get rescheduled?
Sure. One favorite quote that I like to use is "Chance always favors the aggressor." I would highly encourage you guys to reach out to your respective institutions and see, how this might affect eligibility for the remainder of the year. I know that some schools, particularly schools in Ohio, have been shut down for online-only classes and things of that nature. That being said, you're still students, so realistically, you guys probably should be in a position where you'll still be able to travel and participate as long as your school allows for it. But yeah, that's a good point from Casey. Try and reach out to your respective institutions and just ask, hey, in the event that we have, in the event that this situation gets under control and we have to postpone nationals to late May or June or whatever the case may be, just check in with your schools and make sure that that won't create any issues or that they'll be eligible. Any other new updates?
Still waiting.
Okay.
I'm letting people know you stay on there for the next 5 to 10 minutes taking questions.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. Let's see if I had anything else that we could discuss. Probably not. Any updates? Guessing probably not.
Nope, no updates.
Okay. All right. Well, just for the time being, I'll reiterate some points that were made earlier during the stream. So as of right now, 2020 season is not canceled. We've merely postponed Nationals 2020 for a later date. If your school is interested in hosting or traveling, you'll be more than eligible to do so. Just make sure that you fit within your school's requirements. As of right now, we're looking to try and get a new Nationals date at Ohio State at late May or June timeframe, and we'll let everybody know as soon as that happens. Please continue to register for Nationals if you're expecting to attend. Again, if we reschedule towards the summer, there's plenty of other club sports that already have, summer national events like Club Frisbee and Club Baseball. So realistically, that shouldn't be an issue with your school's requirements. However, as Casey asked earlier, I would still encourage you guys to reach out and make sure that won't create issues down the line. As far as nationals fees goes, we're going to continue to hold on to it until we, get a confirmation that we won't be able to hold nationals for this season. And then as far as rule proposals for the 2021 season, we're going to collect those up until a week before nationals, so to speak. So, continue to get those in if you have any burning desires or things to discuss. And with that being said, that's really all that I got for right now. Again, it's kind of an interesting time that we're in right now, not only, for our league, but as a country. Continue to listen to the experts on this sort of stuff. Social distancing, like I said earlier, goes a long way to helping prevent spreading. Making sure that you guys are properly washing your hands, covering your mouth and nose when you cough or sneeze, that sort of deal. And again, making sure that you're taking the necessary steps to not only keeping yourself safe, but the ones around you safe. We're going to continue to work through this, and I know that in due time we're going to be able to see, the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you guys for bearing with us.
We do have a question from both Kevin and Max Vincent. Question from Kevin from Michigan State. Are you taking USA Dodgeball Premier dates into consideration?
It's a great question, and the answer is yes. We will do our best to make sure that we don't interfere with any USA Dodgeball dates. That's why we basically are working with Ohio State as diligently as we can for multiple event dates to potentially host. We understand that we have a lot of athletes that participate in both USA Dodgeball as well as the NCDA. So, like I said, we're going to do our best to make sure that those don't interfere. As of right now, I know a lot of USA Dodgeball events have been postponed or canceled. So I would encourage you guys to continue to keep an eye on that if you play in both leagues. And also, if you're somebody who is interested and not currently signed up for USA Dodgeball, also feel free to either reach out to me or Felix Peroni or whoever. USA Dodgeball also has their own website, and I would encourage you to check that out if you're interested in getting your dodgeball fixing, not only for your time in college, but beyond college as well. And then you said you had one question from Max.
Yeah, Max says, when should we submit Nationals roster by ASAP?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So one of the things that I put in the registration was for you guys to submit your rosters. Now, realistically, that roster is going to be eligible to change pretty much up until a week prior to the event. The reason that I want you guys to list more or less like every potential player that could go to nationals is because when we do our eligibility checks with the university. So we check to make sure that students are in good standing, they're taking the appropriate number of credits that their institution allows for, they have proper GPA, etc. If we have every single person that can potentially go, and we send that in advance, then we have like essentially every single person available. And if you need to sub out one or two people who can or can't go for whatever reason, then we'll already have their registration checked. So that's why we encourage you to, like I said, list every potential member that can go. But the bottom line is, like, your actual official roster, like I said, will make it editable up until the week before the event.
We got a question from Brad. I don't even want to read it because it's not serious like Wes, but I'll do it anyway. Do you
Okay.
know how much toilet paper we would need to supply to nationals?
That much toilet paper. So I would say more so. I would say more so than toilet paper. Making sure that you guys have a good supply of like tissues and paper towels and other necessary cleaning supplies would be important. One thing that I do want to bring up too is that if you guys are buying cleaning supplies, a lot of places are putting restrictions on the amount that you can buy, just to make sure that it's more readily available for everybody. So I understand that health and safety is important. Don't be a person who hoards supplies just for the sake of hoarding it or for the sake of trying to, turn around and make a quick profit off of it. There was actually a guy who tried to do that and sell a bunch of hand sanitizer on Amazon, and they told him no. So now he's just sitting on 18,000 containers of hand sanitizer for no reason. Along the same lines, if you guys use Clorox wipes and bleach, make sure that you don't combine the two in any way, shape, or form, because the two combined together creates ammonia, and inhaling that type of gas can cause serious health side effects, more so than even the coronavirus might cause for you. So, be smart there. Just passing along some information that I know. Anything else?
Yeah, Justin from Kent State. He said, what would the tournament look like in the likely event we would have significantly less teams than the original date?
So again, if teams have already, hit the check boxes on their requirements, such as paying the nationals fees, and playing their required 3 games, they will still be eligible and welcome to attend. If some teams decide to forego the attendance either because their school doesn't allow them to travel or because they choose not to for their own health and safety concerns, or whatever the case may be, then we'll still adjust nationals to whatever teams will be attending. We still plan on having it be a multi-day event with our 3-game round, essentially our 3-game round robin format on Saturday, and then hosting our 16-team tournament bracket play on Sunday, with any remaining teams being able to play in a consolation bracket, but no immediate plans to change the format from that regard or limit teams to attend. All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, guys. Assuming I don't get another question as I'm logging out here, once again, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in and asking some thoughtful and insightful questions, and for some of you for asking non-thoughtful and insightful questions as well. We still encourage participation. But again, as we go through these difficult times, make sure that you guys are taking the necessary steps to keep yourself safe, and we look forward to getting back to playing dodgeball as soon as possible. Thanks, guys.